In this video, I'm going to be walking through how I made a basket of flowers cake. I started with putting some buttercream onto my cake board. I'm using this to keep my cake steady on the board so that as I'm decorating it, it's not sliding around. I'm just spreading the buttercream around, and this will help to keep the cake stuck to the board. I am putting the cake onto the board, and you'll notice that I am piping some of the buttercream onto the cake, and I will use a cake knife and just really work to spread that icing out across the cake so I can stack the next layer on top. Here I am just kind of looking to see how to level this cake out. I did not level out the individual layers of this cake because the family that's getting this cake really likes the icing. So I'm going to use buttercream to fill in the gaps to level this cake. That will provide some extra buttercream for this family. I'm using this really to provide the crumb coat for the cake to make sure that we don't have extra crumbs coming through the icing of the design. Working to smooth this out. It doesn't have to be super smooth because this is going to be a basket weave design, and so that does a really good job at hiding any kind of imperfections in the crumb coat. I'm working to really smooth out the top. You'll see here that I have basically finished the crumb coat as much as I'm going to finish it here. It does, like as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be super smooth. I am working to get the top pretty level as it's going to serve as a basket design. I will add some icing as necessary to fill in any indentations or uneven areas of the top of the cake. As you'll see, I'm getting ready to do right there. So it's less about being smooth and more about making sure that it is a level, straight top. So you'll see here that I have basically finished the basket weave design on the outside of the cake. I'm just finishing up the other side of this. In the next image, you're going to see that I'm working on creating the lid. This is made of some peanut butter candy that I've made. I'm using a piece of parchment paper where I traced the pan that I used for the cake, and then I flipped it over so that the pen where I traced it isn't touching the candy. Just dumping this candy on so it basically shows the shape of the general shape of the basket. And then I'm spreading it out so that it's about the same thickness across the entire piece of the half of the lid for the basket. I put this into the freezer for a bit so that it could harden, and now I'm just straightening up that side edge of the piece of candy. I also kind of straightened out the round edges of this as well. You'll see that I am working on creating some flowers. This is going to be a basket of flowers, as I mentioned. So here is a pink rose that I'm making with a petal tip. In the next little area, you'll see that I'm using some saran wrap. I'm adding some pink, and I'm going to add some white as well so that I can have some white and pink colored roses. Adding white here, and then I will roll up this saran wrap. Once I roll this up, I'm going to cut one end of it and put it into my piping bag. That will allow the two-tone color to come out of the petal tip, giving me two-toned roses. And there you can see that I have both colors coming through onto the piping nail. Here's another two-toned rose that I'll use in my basket. Here I'm making some yellow carnation type flowers. And now I'm also making some purple carnation type flowers. And this one is going to be a purple flower, kind of like a forget-me-not flower. And so at this point, I am doing a basket weave design on half of the top of the cake. And then I'm going to do the illusion that I have the basket halfway open, so I won't need to do the other half of the top of the cake in this basket weave design. About finished with halfway, so I'm putting on just a flower or so I can get a sense of what that looks like. You'll see here that I took that piece of candy and I'm kind of pushed that into the cake, and I've begun putting some of the flowers along with some green leaves to really kind of begin the basket of flowers design. That piece of candy is really just resting against some of them, but basically it's pushed down into the cake and the icing. I'm going to add additional flowers into there, but in the meantime, I'm doing the basket weave up the other side of that piece of candy so that it looks like this is an open basket lid. And here's what that looks like on the other side. I'm just doing kind of like a piping along the edge so that it doesn't look like a ragged edge, so it looks more like a completed basket edge. And again, those flowers at this point, they are kind of bubbling out of the basket. So this is what the full design looked like. I want to thank you for coming to see how I made this basket of flowers. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to come back and watch other videos as I make them. Feel free to like, comment, and share, and I encourage you to really just come back and enjoy the other content that I make as I move forward and continue to learn how to decorate cakes. And here is a full spin of this cake so you can see it from all of the angles. Thank you for joining me.